Frickety Frack. We do talk back. Thank you for joining us in this episode.
Hello, my name is Patrick and I'm Frank.
Hello, my name is Jeff and I'm Frick. Frickety Frack, We Do Talk Back is a show where we will discuss different aspects of fandom and how they relate to the gospel. We are currently going through the Prime Video series Invincible, and we're connecting lessons from each episode to teachings in the Bible. And just as many of you are, we are also fans of other things as well. So when we finish Invincible, we will go in a different direction and we can look at anything ranging from anime, comics, video games, movies, or other things that we're fans of. We got the name of the show from our father who dubbed us Frick and Frack since we were kids.
So we're on the 6th episode of this season, and it is titled "You Look Kinda Dead." So the episode begins with Doug Cheston harassing a few co-eds, and when they leave him, he gets knocked out by someone who has performed surgery and enhancements on him. The person removes his vocal cords after Doug has a slew of cussing. And so then it rushes to the Hero Hospital as the severely injured Guardians are rushed into surgery. Robot comes to help Monster Girl. Black Samson responds to defibrillator shocks, and Mark is in surgery when his parents arrive. And Mark wakes up 6 days later. Omni-Man and Cecil chat about the ongoing investigation, and Cecil points out that Mark doesn't listen to Nolan because he's a human teenager. Amber and Mark fix their relationship, and he also reconciles with William. Eve comes over and Mark invites her to come along on the college tour, but Eve doesn't want to go to college. Instead, she wants to start using her powers to make a real difference. Mark sees that as a possibility for himself as well. Mark, Amber, and William head out to the college trip, and Debbie leaves to run errands and leaves Nolan behind. And he has a face of suspicion because of her behavior. The three students arrive looking forward to college, and Eve leaves her parents to unknown places. D.A. Sinclair interrupts a biology class where Rick, William's crush, stands up for Amber. The four split up to experience the campus, and Mark has a wonderful time with Amber at the college and believes his future is at that school. When he has that realization, a cyborg monster comes out from the ground, and Mark, dressed as Invincible, saves William from being crushed. The two fight, with Mark struggling to put it down. When he finally rips off the helmet and the monster realizes what it is, and it kills itself. Amber breaks up with Mark because she thinks he lied and abandoned her. D.A. Sinclair grumbles about the cyborg and sets his eyes on Rick. One of Robot's drones arrives with something that will help Monster Girl recover. Debbie talks with Art about Nolan's costume, and he reveals that Omni-Man killed the Guardians. And you see Nolan hovering outside Art's shop. Mark, Rick, Amber, and William get ready for the evening, and we see some of the new heroics of Adam Eve. Robot meets up with the Mahler twins to talk about the progress of the cloning process. William and Mark chat about being a superhero, and as Amber comes out of the shower, she gets invited to a party, and as Rick video chats with William, the connection goes out. They all go their separate ways, where Mark and William separate to go look for the other person. Monster Girl wakes up to talk about her recovery. William searches and finds the sewer that Rick was dragged down and follows. Nolan and Art chat over beer, talking about good old times. Art is nervous throughout it. Amber is talking with a guy when Mark gets a call from William, who has been captured by a cyborg, where he meets D.A. Sinclair in his lab. Mark chases after them when he gets jumped by three cyborgs. As they fight, Rick's helmet gets removed. William appeals to Rick's emotions, and he helps Invincible fight off the cyborgs. They win and knock out D.A. Sinclair. Cecil is impressed by Sinclair's tech, and Nolan comes home to a drunk Debbie accusing him of killing the Guardians, and he does not take it well. Then the episode ends with two kids digging up Immortal's grave, wanting to take his powers when the Mahler twins arrive. So as we've been doing, the the only real big appearance of note is the first appearance of D.A. Sinclair, who is voiced by Ezra Miller, and he does a great job of being this creepy psychopath. Um, and uh, and honestly, like, one of the things that we've talked about in this show is that it's really hard, like, when they've really nailed these voices, when you read the comic you can't help but hear this voice. And when I, after watching this and then rereading the comics way back when, I heard Ezra Miller's voice for D.A. Sinclair.
Yeah, he does a great job as DA Sinclair, and DA Sinclair does make recurring appearances in the comics. So he is a character of note that will be making should be or honestly should be making further appearances in this show as the show progresses through the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say this: one of the things that uh, genuinely disappointed me in this episode was some stuff revolving around William. Now, don't get me wrong, William was actually pretty fantastic throughout the show. This particular episode, glad to see him back. He's been kind of absent last couple episodes, and especially because of how much he meant to the series in the very beginning as Mark's best friend.
Yeah, and throughout the comics,
Yeah, and throughout the
especially in
comic.
the beginning.
Yeah, and he plays such a big role in the beginning of the comics, which makes sense when you're making a teenage superhero comic. You're going to feature the best friend. Best friends are a big deal for teenagers. Um, but here's where my disappointment lies. So when you read the comics and when Mark and William go and visit go do their college trip like they do in the show, one of the things that is a recurring joke throughout that issue is that everybody, when they meet William, they're like, "Oh, can I call you Will, or do you go by Bill?" Each time he's like very put off, and it's like it's William. And so eventually, when it happens enough, people being like, "Oh, hey, you go by something other than William," uh, Mark gets into him, is like, "Dude, you just kind of got to relax, chill out about that. It's like it's putting people off." And he's like, "But it's not my name. Like, would you want them to call you Marcus?" And it's like, "Well, Marcus isn't my name." And he's like, "Right. And neither is any of those other names. My name is
Yeah.
William." And so I was hoping that would pop up. I kind of understand why they didn't do it, especially because they were heavily focusing on for William, William and Rick and their relationship there, and not so much the aspect of like Mark and William's friendship. It
Yeah.
was more about Mark and Amber and William and Rick.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I love that bit in the comics too, but it doesn't necessarily really fit into, in the condensing of the story and things like that. And um, yeah. And here's the thing that always drove me nuts reading in the comic. I was like, he literally introduces himself as William. You know, someone introduces themselves to me. They say like, "Hi, my name's Joseph. I'm going to refer to them as Joseph, not Joe or Joey." Like, if I develop a friendship with Joseph, I might eventually broach the subject. But I mean, if he introduces himself as Joseph, I'm calling him Joseph.
Right.
Um, so that always drove me nuts for William. Like, I saw his point, but I mean, he was being kind of a jerk about it. But that was all because of subtext of William's character, sort of, in the comic.
Well, yeah, William's character was much more fleshed out in the comics than it has been so far in the show. So, like, for instance, one of the things too is that one of the things that's a little different between Mark and William is that Mark was not the one that they were worried about getting into college. William was. Like, William was not a good student in the comic in the beginning. And
Mhm.
so the fact that like William is now laid out as this potential pre-med student, which, by the way, if you're not aware, getting into pre-med is difficult now. Or not that it wasn't even when the comic was first coming out, but it's very challenging to be in pre-med. And so the fact that that's even a desire of his shows that William is a much more diligent student than his comic counterpart was.
Yeah. And so with this college trip, you always get, you always have those concerns. And I love this, that, Debbie, as they're driving off, she's like, no alcohol,
No drugs.
and no drugs, and no sex.
Yeah.
And I
Which
was
is
like,
really embarrassing to say in front of your girlfriend and then your best friend too. It's just all sorts of awkward but
absolutely.
a very motherly thing to do.
Oh
And
yeah.
so it's just so yeah, like I enjoyed that. And again, it's the things about those moments that I just really genuinely love about the show, where it's real. It's like this is a real interaction. This is really stuff that parents say. Not that all parents say these sort of things, but there are parents that do this. Like, it's a very real representation of parents and how they are with
Oh
their
yeah.
kids, and especially when they're going to college by themselves. It's not like Debbie was going on the college trip with them, which is also very common. Parents will go on college trips with their kids.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, our mother came with me when I was touring seminaries. I mean, I already graduated from college, or was going to graduate from college, and my mom came with me. I was a fully grown, capable adult, and my mom still came with me. Um, I mean, parents come with you on these trips. That was one of those things. Like, I mean, because I don't even think they go in the comics. I think it's just Mark and William together. No parents. Maybe William's parents came. I don't know. But these are,
I don't remember. Like, I wonder if they like dropped them off or something. I don't remember. I don't really remember either.
yeah,
It's been a while since I've read those particular issues. Um, I think it's just one issue actually. Um,
I don't know.
but anyway, so yeah, so um, yeah, and so one of the things too that really stood out to me is that near the end there of the episode, we see Cecil shows up to help bandage Mark back together again, after he got pretty beat up by the Reanimen. And one of the things that I like about this, and they're staying true, this is very true to the comics, in that every single villain that gives Mark a hard time, Cecil collects data on them and sets it up where uh, for potentially taking down a Viltrumite in the future. Uh, and a little bit of a spoiler here, so if you don't want spoilers for the future of the show, earmuffs. Some of these plots for the Viltrumite taking down a Viltrumite is not um, just going after Nolan. Some of these plans will be used against Mark. And so it's so yeah, again, it's just these things about, all right, no more spoiler here. So it's just one of the things that I really like about Cecil and really enjoy about their depiction of him in the show, and being very true to him from the comics, and that he is very, very paranoid, and he wants to be prepared. He does not like not being prepared.
Yeah. And uh Cecil's character is slightly different from the way he was in the comics, because the one of the big reveal, that's the Nolan killing the Guardians, that was a big surprise to Cecil. Like, he did not see that coming, and where he is, it's very clear that Cecil is at least suspicious of Nolan. And so it's one of those things where we just have to, be, he's being prepared, and they've changed that a little bit about Cecil from the comics, and and I really like what they did. Just this, even just the slight tweaking of it that that Cecil did. The change in Cecil is really good. And I think one of my favorite parts about this is, is always a superhero in the sewer, and one, it's funny I've listened to a bunch of different podcasts and everything, and one of them was a Ninja Turtle podcast. And for those who might not be aware, the Ninja Turtles, their home base usually is a place in the sewers. And one of the interesting things that you discover is that, in fact, sewer pipes and sewer areas are not that big. They're not big enough for you to have underground layers like they are. And so, but my favorite is him diving into the sewer. Made me think of in Spider-Man, the animated series that came out in the early 90s. While he's searching for the lizard, he's traveling through the sewer, and he complains about how you don't see the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four in the sewers. You only see Spider-Man in the sewers. And so I thought about that, how Mark goes in there, he's like, oh,
yeah, which is definitely very real. That would be an awful, disgusting, nasty thing to put up with. And all right, and I do have to bring this up because I know I made such a big deal about it in the past episodes, and where this played a part. Although it does make me happy to very much declare this is the last we have to deal with that stupid White House guard subplot. It was so pointless in those early episodes. It served no purpose whatsoever, didn't add anything. And in fact, if the kid that was helping dig up the gravesite of Immortal, if he didn't bring up the fact that, I was like, oh my gosh, we can't get caught because this might affect my stepdad's White House guard job. If he didn't lay it out like that, I wouldn't have known, because I don't care. It's a stupid plot that has no purpose and does not add anything to the show except to annoy me. So good. If that was your job, if that was your whole purpose to do it, good job. You annoyed me to no end about having to make me talk about this stupid plot. And I'm so happy that it's no more. The last time we see him, and oh my goodness, if this story subplot shows up in season 2, oh my gosh, I might lose it. I might just
pull your hair out.
I'll really dig down and pull my hair out if I have to deal with any more of this stupid White House guard subplot.
I did hear a rumor that they're going to dedicate a whole episode to the White House.
You shut your mouth. Don't don't put that out there. That's how stuff happens. These people put stuff out there. Don't do it.
I do know Robert Kirkman, after all.
Sort of know Robert Kirkman. It's not like you could call him up and be like, oh, hey, you remember that one guy that used to work at A+ Comics and blah, blah, blah. And he'd be kind of like, it's like, he'd probably be like, what's A+ Comics again? Anyways, so yeah, you don't know Robert Kirkman.
I know.
Met him. You have met Robert Kirkman. You don't know him.
Several times.
Let's go on to talk about Jesus, please.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about forgiveness, and hopefully Jeff will learn to forgive this subplot.
Nope, not possible.
All right, so our biblical verse is Micah 7 verse 18. Who is a God like you, pardoning iniquity and passing over transgression for the remnant of his inheritance? He does not retain his anger forever because he delights in steadfast love. So one of the central themes of this episode was Mark and Amber trying to reconcile their relationship. Like, as Mark and Amber started dating, she did not like how much he flaked on her. And by the end of the previous episode, she was like, I'm done with him. He told me he was going to make it and he didn't do it. And then when she finds out that he got hit by a bus, which is relatively true, just happened to be a bus with
Well, it's
fangs
named Battle Beast.
named Battle Beast. That is super awesome. Um, uh, and so she finds out about that. She's like, okay, well, you know what? I think I can forgive you for that. Let's give this a try. Let's restart. And Mark's like, telling her, you are going to be my priority now. And um and so he goes all out on this episode until he has to become invincible again. And Amber makes it pretty clear that it's like, you know what, I'm done with you. You lied to me, you abandoned me, and and she's like, I can't do with this anymore. And so for us as people, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I sin. Um, because unfortunately, there are times in my life when I know I'm just like, you know what, this is not the right thing to do, and I do it anyways. And I'm really working hard towards not doing that. But that's, fortunately, I am human and I make mistakes. But one of the things we've come to learn is that God's grace knows no bounds. God's grace is with us, guiding us towards Christian perfection and life with Him. And so one of the things that God does tell us is that we do need to repent of our sins. And when we repent of our sins, that God's grace shows up in that. But one of the things that God does expect us to do is to learn from our mistakes, because when we willingly disobey God over and over again, we're cheapening that grace that God gives us through Jesus Christ. And so what Mark was trying to show Amber, that he could do this steadfast love that she was wanting. She was wanting her to be a priority. She was wanting to be a priority in Mark's life, and Mark wasn't able to do that. Despite Mark kind of like, you know what, I don't really want to be invincible. I don't want to be a hero. I make things worse. And so it's for us as Christians, we are called to do the same thing. We are called to show our steadfast love to God, because God is showing us His steadfast love to us. And so hopefully we can learn to do that.
Yeah. So one of the things that, like Patrick was saying, the whole driving force of this episode was Mark pretty much coming to the decision because of what happened to the Guardians, because he got manipulated by Stone. Although I don't know if he quite picked up on the fact that he got manipulated as much as that he got, they got their butts whooped, and to the point where Monster Girl almost died because he got involved. Black Samson almost died because he got involved. He almost died because he got involved. And up until this point, up to this point, Mark hasn't been super successful against he hasn't been a successful superhero. He's actually failed quite a bit, with the exception of the random, loser, the previous episode
Yeah, the
where he
loser
starts,
montage.
the training montage, more or less, where he's starting to kind of get his act together. But when he realizes how much pain he's caused, it's like, no, I can't do this. I can't be a superhero. I'm not good at it. Um, I make things worse. I make things worse. People get hurt because of my actions. So it's better for me to just give that up and be Mark. And well, the thing that hurts, I think, for Amber a little bit is that she sees what Mark could be if he was fully committed. If he wasn't, he's not like technically cheating on her, but he's cheating on her with superhero work. And so if he wasn't betraying that trust, um, he actually is a great boyfriend from what it shows in this, when they're like doing that tour of campus and, and, they have a great chemistry together. When he looked at, at the beginning of the episode, when he asked for a restart on the phone conversation and, and so then Amber does the cute little thing, hey, handsome Mark Grayson. And so then they start talking and they reconcile and
I
they
love
go
that.
on the college trip together. And it's great. And so it's something that Mark needs to come to grips with, is him keeping the secret from her, keeping this hidden, uh, is greatly negatively affecting his relationship with her. He can't be truly himself around her without telling her about it. And so he needs to decide how important she is to him. And so far, he has not been able to do that. And so 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 what it boils down to is that he's lying to her and he's cheating on her, and this in the grand scheme of, and from a certain point of view. And so one of the things that is so important for us in our walks with Christ, and because again, if you're truly going to be a disciple of Christ, if you're truly going to follow Christ, it means your walk is not alone. You are going to your goal as a follower of Christ is to have your walk impact the world around you. And so if you're not upfront, you're not open, you're not real about it, then you need to, then you're not going to be truly effective. You're not going to have that impact if you're not honest. And so, and that's also in your ministry, in your own ministry, as it grows, you need to be honest with the people in it. You can't keep stuff hidden from them. You've got to be real. um One of the best lessons I ever taught, um was in this one. It was a Sunday school class. I had no idea, like, in all honesty, it was, um I didn't know how long uh, the class was going to last, because it was going to solely be up to the people in my class. And we had about 15 kids in the class this Sunday. And I had been, at the time, I'd been going through I'd been teaching the class on um, the book Not a Fan, which is a great book. If you have not read it, it's absolutely phenomenal. Um, but I've been going through it and I was reading the chapter and I was just like, and the chapter just really spoke with me because I've been keeping some stuff hidden. Uh, and honestly, because I was ashamed and I was embarrassed. And so I open up with the class. I don't remember exactly all that I talked about, but it wasn't a lot. Like I didn't talk a whole lot. Like I maybe asked a question or two. But then I started a confession. I was just like, hey, I need to stop being a fan and I need to be a follower. And so in order for our ministry to move on, to go forward, I need to tell some people, I need to get some stuff off my chest. I and one of the things that I actually, a realization that I had gotten while doing this lesson, was that I'm actually a very proud person. I don't act like it. I try to be humble. Um, and by the way, I can out humble you. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but I was very proud, and part of that was because and my pride was preventing me from being open and being honest. And so I talked about my pride, how my pride was getting in the way of me being honest and being effective. And so it also led to confessing some other sins of mine, like struggles with pornography. And so, and I told him, this is like, in order for our ministry to go forward, I'm leaving the floor to you guys now. What are some stuff that you guys need to get? What are some obstacles that you need to get out of your life and out of the way? And so that class went on for another hour. So that, and honestly, it would have kept going if we didn't get interrupted. And people that were trying to that normally use our room during service, didn't interrupt us, which made me very annoyed that happened. And also led to us eventually getting out of that room, because it's like, this is very annoying that we're sharing a room with people when this was like, we didn't. Anyways, that's a story for another day, is dealing with that stuff. But so anyways, basically what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to be real, if you're going to have an impact, you've got to be honest. You can't hold stuff back. You've got to be real. And one of the things that's so great about having a relationship with Christ, about him being our advocate in front of God, is that we have forgiveness available to us. We have grace. We have the Holy Spirit. It's an amazing feeling to have, that you can just be relieved of these issues, but you have to be honest. So, Frack, how would you rate this episode?
So before we started recording this episode, Jeff and I kind of talk and kind of set things up and things like that for this episode. And, one of the things I shared with him before we even started was, this episode is going to be the lowest rated episode for this show, for this season, because it suffers from being the setup episode. Now, the crazy thing is that there's only 8 episodes in this season, and you wouldn't think there would be a whole episode dedicated to setup. And that's kind of the way this episode turns out to be. It furthers the plot, it furthers everything, but all of the action and the big set pieces were all just set up for other stuff, like Debbie finding about the costume, D.A. Sinclair and the Reaniman, and Eve going off and doing her own thing. So it was all just set up for other stuff. So there wasn't anything technically wrong with the episode. But if all of the other episodes were like this one, I couldn't tell people to keep watching it. So I'm going to have to give this episode a 3. Because there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing great about it, really, except for a moment here or there.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it the same rating of a 3. I'm inclined to actually knock it down to a 2.75, just because of the White House subplot. Actually, yeah, let's go ahead. I'm going to make it a 2.75, just because I had to be reminded.
It's literally 10 seconds.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't serve a purpose. So to me, I think like the big driving forces of this episode is, honestly, it's Mark and Eve being 100% uncertain of their future. Eve is thinking she doesn't want to be a superhero anymore. Mark is not wanting to really be a superhero anymore, but he kind of keeps finding himself in situations where he has to act. And honestly, I don't blame him. It's like, dude, I have the power to stop this guy. I need to go stop this guy. So there's a lot of setup for the coming couple episodes. as this first season comes to an end. But yeah, so it's like overall, yeah, just not a whole lot. Like honestly, you could probably even almost completely skip this episode because anything that happens in this episode is going to get kind of clarified in the next couple episodes as well. So it's like, so even if you miss this one, you're not really missing anything. I just feel like, and not that it's like filler because it's actually very comic accurate. Um, but you're not missing anything if you miss it.
Right.
So yeah, so I'd give it a 2.75 just because if you miss this episode, you're not missing anything
No.
except for William finding out Mark is invincible. But again, that's going to get brought up a lot over the next couple episodes. So you're going to figure out, oh, in this last episode that I missed that I skipped, William must have found out.
Yep. Oh, and Amber's mad at Mark. Oh, what else is
Oh,
new?
shocker! And again, not that she's not justified, but again, it's kind of her thing at this moment is being mad at Mark. And are they together? I don't know. I'm just pissed at him because he can't ever do anything except save the world.
No grace for that.
Yeah. So anyways, anyone with any questions for us about any of the biblical lessons that we've talked about in this episode or any of our other discussions that we've talked about, ask us questions, hit us up. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be just about Invincible. It can be anything, anime, comics, anything in general. Feel free to email us at frickityfracktalkback@gmail.com or reach out to us on Twitter at frickityf or at frickityfrack on Instagram and Facebook. Now, let's go put on some pants and get into the sky.